to your genetics. So if they want to claim that they are using evidence-based science, they need to investigate the correlation between the use of the flu vaccine in the aged care facilities and the population, which they mandated this year, with the increased deaths that occurred 2 or 3 weeks after. That is evidence-based medicine. And if you want to control an infectious disease in a country like Australia, then you isolate the sick people, not the healthy people. There is no one in this country who should be accepting a medical test if you are healthy and have no symptoms. No testing of no medical testing of healthy people. We will not social distance. That is antisocial. We are a community. We are human beings. We need each other. Social capital. We have our elderly imprisoned in aged care facilities where many of us cannot visit them because we refuse to inject ourselves with chemicals. We want these directives immediately removed. They are harming human health, seriously. And I will also say to Mr McGowan that we want our borders open. For all of you here, you will notice that the West Australian, the West Australian, has informed you that 91% of West Australians want that border closed. Well, I dispute that.
Mockingbird media.
We need to demand independent media. We have not had media for 5 years at least. Parents have been locked out of these health debates. The politicians would not see us last year as the No Jab, No Play, a crime against humanity, was passed through this West Australian Parliament in just 6 days. Not a single politician in West Australia stood up for fully informed consent to all medications. The Nuremberg Code. Medical ethics. The doctors are breaching their medical ethics in Australia because their regulatory board has gagged them. This needs to stop. And thankfully, and finally, we have one lawyer, 2 lawyers actually, that have stood up for the public health and public interest in government policies which will destroy human health. So stay strong with your convictions and try to direct your closed-mind friends who are reading the West Australians and who are watching the TV. Turn it off, enjoy life, nothing has changed. And just one last thing before we go and chant our message through Kings Park. Let me be quite clear. The human right that we have been forced to give up by crimes committed by the Australian government is the fundamental human right of bodily autonomy. There is no more important human right than that of bodily autonomy. If you lose that, you lose your quality of life. The government now has the right to inject whatever they want into our children because they passed coercive vaccination. This is a crime. You need to reframe this debate for all your closed-mind friends and be sympathetic with them, because the indoctrination has occurred over 3 decades. Through the education system, through the universities, sidelining academics that produce the academic literature that is against vested interests in policy. The donations and lobbying system in Australia is conducive to corporations controlling our politicians and the agendas in our health policies. We need to stop this political process. We need to take back control of our government. Now, freedom for our children! Freedom! We are the change! We are the change! Resist! 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 No face masks! No medical testing for any healthy person! No quarantining for any healthy person coming into our lovely country! And remember, we are the many, they are the few. And I'm aware that many professionals, and that includes any police that are here today, lawyers, doctors, nurses, we know that you've been gagged by your regulations, but you need to think of what we want in Australia. Do you want this bullying that the West Australian has been addressing to all the people, parents questioning vaccines for the last decade? The West Australian has bullied and abused by labelling us simply as anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theorists. This is not good enough. Is that what you want, a divided Australia? The no jab, no pay, no play policies have divided parents. They are in the courts. Families are suffering from anxiety and depression. It is no longer a joyous affair to have a baby in this country. And I say that directly to Mark McGowan, as we are here in Western Australia, and specifically to Mr Scott Morrison, who as Minister for Social Services approved the no jab, no pay in Parliament in 2015. That is a crime against humanity. It is a breach of every international human rights covenant that Australia has ratified, not just signed up to. Yet, when the Human Rights Commission decided to have a conversation on human rights in Australia last year, there was one freedom we were not allowed to discuss, and it was not on their agenda. Medical freedom. Informed consent to all medication, that's what we stand for, and that gives us freedom. Okay, thank you everyone, and please pass those messages on to your friends with conviction and with sympathy for the fact that people have been indoctrinated. This is a very sad situation. It's been going on for 2.5 decades at a minimum. Chronic illness in our children has skyrocketed, and that's the other problem. The government has not used evidence-based science and investigated the direct correlation between the decline in children's health and the increased use of vaccines in the population. This is not a health policy. A health policy would be promoted on improvements in children's health that we would have observed over the decades as they increased it. Ask your politician to provide evidence that children's health has improved. It has not, and it is not a health policy. Okay, thank you everyone. today and showing my friends that people do agree with me and that I can promise you that our underground army is huge when those doctors, lawyers, police and other social workers realise that their own children's future is at risk if they enforce the government's directives. Thank you.